It will be the Bangladesh Tigers who have the last laugh in this Asian rivalry because they won by 3 wickets at Delhi against Sri Lanka. Lots to talk about in this match review on cricket.com with me, Avnish Hegde. And as you can see, Gurkirat and Nikhil Popat. Good to see you boys. So much to talk about this chaotic game which has ensued on a Monday night. And there'll be a lot of hysteria in Dhaka and the other streets, of course, in Bangladesh. Chittagong maybe as well. But look, where did they win and lose this? Gurkirat, your first thoughts about this game, which was important in the context of the Champions Trophy. So well done, Bangladesh, for pocketing the points.
Yeah, with this win, there's a possibility that four teams could end up with two wins each. Because Bangladesh play Australia next, and I don't see them winning that game. England have a game against Pakistan and Netherlands, so yeah, there's a good possibility England win only one of it. And yeah, so you could have four teams ending up with only two wins each, and the Champions Trophy qualification spots could be decided on net run rate. That's what this game has done today. I think Bangladesh won this game in two places. One is obviously the partnership between Shakib and Shanto while chasing. The phase, actually both the phases, like from 11 to 20 and then 21 to 30, they were so much in control, and Sri Lanka had no answers. And then Bangladesh getting wickets at crucial intervals. You know, they got wickets of Nisanka and Mendes quickly, and then when another partnership was building, they got Sadira and then Mathews. And then eventually, with 5 overs to go, you felt that Sri Lanka could get to 300, but they lost wickets in clusters once again, which is something that Aslanka also said, at the mid innings, that he wanted to get to 300 but he couldn't. So, and then obviously Dew played a huge role today.
It was that partnership, right, Nix, the Shakib and Shanto one, which really took the game away from Sri Lanka. And I thought maybe, just poignantly, it could be Angelo Mathews who spoils the parties. He got two, and then I was like, you know what, having my dinner at the edge of my seat, but then eventually Bangladesh getting the job done, right?
You had dinner? Good.
You haven't?
Nahi, nahi.
But
You just got
two people,
electrocuted right now.
two people who were part of a live for 1.5 hours found a way to sneak in dinner, and Paji, who's relatively not doing shows, was busy. बताओ बड़े लोग,
बड़े लोग भाई.
बड़े लोग, yeah. So no, I think fair on that assumption of the stand. That was a difference. Paji also pointed out the right moments where they lost it. We discussed as much in the internal group that if Dew comes in, there could be a few shot, and they were eventually, around 20-30 shot in that sense. And Shakib is the player of the match. I don't know in more sense than one, but I didn't see that acceleration coming from him. I think we were all watching. We were part of the MNL, and just looking up, he's hitting a four. Looking up, oh, he's hit another one. Oh, now he's got a six. So I think they probably timed it very well. Something we've discussed in many games, that people haven't waited for the due to come in, and that's what Bangladesh did well today. They lost too early, but they still did not lose the entire plot. And what a day for Shantar to come good. I mean, this is as random as it can get in terms of people who performed today, but Bangladesh will take the win hands down.
Indeed, in the preview, I asked Gurkirat about Shanto, and he quickly said no. But Shanto's come to the party, indeed. Well, let's of course reflect the match summary for you guys in case you missed it on this Monday night. Because as you can see, the telling line at the bottom: Bangladesh winning by 3 wickets, and a lot of their players playing a part. You take a look at, of course, Shariful and his 2 for 52, but you can also look at Shanto, like Nick said, and not to forget. Other contributions which are not really seen in match summaries at times, but they've got the job done. And this is their first win after their first game of the World Cup in 2023. So they've snapped that losing streak. And what better way to do it against Bangladesh, I beg your pardon, against Sri Lanka? I stand corrected. Right. When we look back at this game in history, it'll be known for that one thing, which is the Angelo Mathews being timed out. Gurkirat, I want to get your thoughts on that because it was an ugly game generally. We saw a lot of fights. We saw a lot of lip being given over there. We saw a lot of argy bargy, and it's hot under the collar normally when Bangladesh take on Sri Lanka. But what did you make of that whole incident, which this game will be remembered for?
To be honest, my opinion on that kept changing as I got new and new information. At first, I felt, yeah, that even though the rules there, but if you're going to penalize a batter for a safety equipment not working properly, I thought it's not fair because so many rules are there in the game where umpires have a jurisdiction. So maybe the rule is such that they don't have that jurisdiction once that appeal was made. But then there was also the possibility that when that strap broke, he did not inform the umpires and went away. But then you had one of the umpires come in and say that he was already late. It had 2 minutes had already passed, so maybe they had given that allowance and they felt that uh, this is not done. And see, as an umpire, if the opposition captain has appealed and the grounds of the appeal are fair and as per the rules, you have to give it out. You can't do it. So the onus after that was on Shakib, and Shakib did not withdraw the appeal after being
But
asked.
just on that, because in the MNL show we asked Saif, who was a Bangladesh fan who joined us, and I know that the ICC Champions Trophy is at stake, and Mathews could have made a difference in terms of 20-25 runs. Bangladesh fans will argue. My question to you, Gurkirat, is the same question that I asked the Bangladesh fan. If it was a bigger player, and I'm saying namely an Indian player, your Rohits, your Virats, your KLs, whoever, do you think Shakib would have withdrawn his appeal? I think he would have panicked and been like, yeah, I'm going to withdraw it here because obviously I can't take on the might of the BCCI. I can't take on the might of the Indian players. Because it's against Sri Lanka, I think he's purposely done it. I mean, fair on him to call it out, but I'm just saying it made him do it more because it's Sri Lanka.
I think, if this game was in Sri Lanka, then he may not have done it. See, doing it to an Indian player while you are playing in India is something that that the crowd could really, get after you because you have games to play. So maybe if the World Cup was in Sri Lanka, may not have done it because you don't want to get. I think, or maybe if it was in England, he wouldn't. I'm not sure if it was about an Indian player. And see, Mathews is a big name that way in the Sri Lankan and the Asian subcontinent. Mathews is a big name. He's played 100 Test matches, has done very well across formats. So yeah, it's probably it just came down to the desperation in terms of get qualifying for that Champions Trophy, because Shakib before the World Cup said that Bangladesh will win this because it's going to be his last. So maybe it's that desperation. uh, I will not say it is morally wrong or something, because it is within the rules. But like I said, my at first my opinion was this could have been avoided because you felt it was just about protecting. It was about safety equipment, and the batter had reached the crease. But if the batter has reached the crease already late, and then umpires or the opposition player hasn't been consulted, or the opposition captain, then they are well within their rights. And probably Mathews could have been slightly smarter in terms of playing that one ball and then taking the time to get his helmet back. And at somewhere you also feel that Mathews never expected someone to make an appeal like this, because it's the first time it has happened in international cricket. So combination of everything. Not sure who you could if you could really blame Bangladesh here. It is somewhat gamesmanship and everything, but it's within the rules.
Which is my next question to Nikhil, because of course, Nick, you spoke about it to some length on the MNL show. But I wanted to ask you this. One is, when you were watching it live, initially, what was your heart and your head telling you? And B, my follow up question will wait for your first answer, actually.
I don't know why. I don't know how it will get taken, but I found it fun. I really like it when teams get what they do. I mentioned it in the MNL as well. There have been instances in the past when Sri Lanka have been very, very smart and played by the rules, that there was a captain who was more likely to get banned for slow over hits. So they sent somebody else out only for the toss to make him the stand-in captain. And then you have then you have the run out at the non-strike run where the batter is casual. All of it is fair, all of it is there within the rules. So if you're not going to look down at that and you think it is cheeky, smart, playing with the rules, so is this. So again, and my answer wouldn't change even if this happened with an Indian player. So my bias is towards the game. Or let's be more honest, my bias is towards bowlers because I feel we as a cricket community are very overprotective about our batters. That please don't do anything to them. They can get out any ball. So please load as many things that you can in their favor. So as long as it was within the rules, it was fine. As I said, my only concern was if had Mathews informed Shakib and umpire, that this is something that's broken and I need to fix it. And even after that, Shakib had wanted to appeal, then I would have felt that is not in good taste. But if it isn't the case, then it is there, and there is a reason it hasn't happened so far. So definitely you did something wrong or something, maybe I don't know, wrong, maybe unfortunate that you didn't, yeah, that you didn't check it before, or it just happened at that point of time. As Padi said, combination of a lot of factors.
Yeah, maybe it was just a case of Angelo Mathews just being lazy. Maybe it was a case of Shakib al Hasan being absolutely adamant that not to withdraw his appeal. And we've seen things like this even in recent times, which has really questioned the spirit of the game. You talk about the Bairstow run out of Alex Carey, you talk about the munkering that Nick's pointed out, or this one, it'll definitely raise a few questions with the MCC and the laws of the game as well. Right, with that out of the way, let's of course just reflect the points table and what is done to the net run rate, because they're neck to neck in terms of the net run rate, as even Paras Sarora points out in the comments, saying Bangladesh and Sri Lanka's net run rate is so close. Take a look at that. They're both, of course, on 4 points each. Bangladesh are currently seventh and Sri Lanka eighth. And Sri Lanka, of course, take on New Zealand next. And not to forget, Bangladesh are up against, yep, you guessed it, Australia on the Saturday, which is on the 11th of November at Pune. So maybe they can spoil Australia's party if Australia lose to Afghanistan. And like I said, Sri Lanka's road ahead. They, of course, come to our very own Bengaluru, the CDC headquarters, of course, not too far away from the Chinnaswamy. And they'll be taking on New Zealand there, who apparently a lot of people are saying it could be a rained out situation. Right, let's of course discuss a few things such as the top performer and the turning point. I will start with, of course, the top performer. Right, time to discuss the top performer, because essentially you might have already seen it with regards to who the player of the match is. It is Shakib al Hasan. I was just confirming on the cricket.com website. And let's put that graphic out as well. I mean, Gurkirat, we showed a stat about Shakib in the preview with regards to how he was so exceptional in the 2019 World Cup and how he's been so disastrous in the 2023 World Cup. What stood out today in this 82 of 65? Was it just because he was in the limelight and he had to prove his worth? Or do you think this is a knock which Bangladesh fans will really, really appreciate going ahead?
No, they'll appreciate, but I just think that today he found some extra motivation in terms of wanting to get qualify for that Champions Trophy in 2025. Because in the first 15-20 balls he was struggling a little, or even offered a chance. But I think post that he was determined to not throw it away. And when he got that six of Chamira on that short ball which he anticipated, I just think it calmed him down, and then he was just playing on the merit of the ball, and shots started to flow. There was some very good shots. There was a very good pull. So yeah, confidence came back, and I just feel today he was just slightly more extra motivated, because like we were discussing in the previous game, Shakib hasn't looked like Shakib, because you've seen him grind out a lot. But in this World Cup, you felt that he's just thrown it away or not applied himself. But today wasn't that case. So, and yeah, it's an innings which should get appreciated, because I am sure, even though we felt that 280 was probably 15-20 runs short, but the way Bangladesh were batting, you felt that Sri Lanka had probably more than enough. But his innings, along with Shanto coming good, really helped Bangladesh.
And it's something that we observed, of course, in this depiction, Nikhil, Shakib against Sri Lanka's Pacers. And you look at how, especially anything kind of short, he was being watchful, but of course, like Gurkirat said, playing in the merit of the Pacers.
Yeah, I think he picked his battles right today. In terms of which one to go after and which one to really maybe not play too risky with. As Padi said, I think that six that he hit, getting inside the line, just really probably just settled him down. And then after that, it was always a case of just him picking the right bowlers and going after them. Because you saw with him, there were phases where he was happy to, take rotate singles, and then there were phases where he'll look for two, three boundaries. So which is what with Rajita as well. There suddenly there was an outburst of three, four boundaries, which is where I think they got away. I mean, at that point of time, it felt that they'll just get away from the chase there. So I think he'll be very happy. I was very surprised with him coming out at four, because we've discussed this in the past in terms of which is the right spot. And again, Sri Lanka are a side that are big on matchups. I felt, oh, too, they've sent Shakib now. What are they trying to look at? But I think it was, I don't know who wanted that call or who took that call, but it eventually has turned out to be a very good one, because it allowed Shakib to get in and play a game that we usually associate with him. And remember, he did go after Mathews in the very first over, offered a chance on seven, wasn't taken, but that is what it is. I think today was the day that a lot of things that Bangladesh tried, they came off, and they did not for Sri Lanka. So a game of missed chances once again for Sri Lanka.
Yeah, we'll talk about Sri Lanka in just a bit, boys. But Shakib al Hasan, honestly, a well-deserved man of the match, 82, 57. And not to forget, 2 for 57, two important scalps as well. And maybe this innings would be remembered more so because it's Sri Lanka's, beg your pardon, Bangladesh's first ever win against Sri Lanka in World Cups, and apparently the highest successful chase
Chase.
against Sri Lanka and won internationals as well. So that's something to remember. We're getting a lot of post-match quotes on the cricket.com website. I know that Kusal Mendes has said that he went on to say, and I quote, "It's disappointing the umpires couldn't step in and make the correct decision." And not to forget other reactions when you guys are done with this live, you can go check it out in terms of the written format of content. And that's a picture which probably will depict it. The celebration, as you can see, giving him a little send off and pointing at that particular watch of his. Right, let's of course finish off by talking to Gurkirat about his favorite segment in a game which again had nothing to really show for. Right, turning point.
Before I answer that, I just want to know, when did this become my favorite segment?
Because you like the turning point, bro. You like it. I know you.
My favorite segment is not introduced in the show yet.
Which one is that now?
There has to be a special segment to discuss about food, at least for 5 minutes, especially when we're doing shows at dinner and lunchtime.
Yeah, maybe we should introduce one for the business end of the tournament called What's Cooking, and then we can just all discuss our food cravings, all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, coming back to the turning point then, Gurkirat, was it this? Because Sri Lanka's innings progression, you take a look at how it went today, they kept losing wickets, and that never bodes well. But do you think that really made a difference of them, like you mentioned, being about 30 runs below par?
I think Sadira's dismissal is where you would say the game really turned. Post that, obviously there was the Mathews dismissal, but Sadira was batting so well today. Asalanka was batting so well. So had Sadira and Asalanka, batted for another 5 to 10 overs, Sri Lanka could have really gotten into a position where they would have had maybe 320, 330, which is something which Mendes said as well, that 320 would have been good enough. And yeah, Sadira, it was sort of avoidable. So yeah, that dismissal, and then like I said, even in the end, they couldn't really score those 20 extra runs. So, and once the dew came in with their bowling not being in form, you felt that they could be up against it. And yeah, Shakib and Shanto getting in. So for me, that is the main turning point is the Sadira dismissal, because had that dismissal not happened, Sri Lanka would have been, uh, you know, ended up with 30, 40 runs more, and that would have made a difference, especially when Bangladesh were two down early. Maybe then Shakib would not have come in at four. Maybe he would have sent Mushfiqur, because last game Mushfiqur came at four, Mahmudullah came at five, Shakib came at six. So yeah, probably that was the turning point for me.
Okay, Nikhil, let's move past the turning point. I just want to ask you, in the grander scheme of things, if you have to put your money right now on either Bangladesh or Sri Lanka making it for that Champions Trophy, who do you think will make it and why?
All bets are off. I, do, I don't think you can do that very, very confidently. Uh, but again, it's both teams have been very very weird at times how they played. But you probably feel that Sri Lanka are probably going to face a side they can possibly beat. I don't know if you can say the same for Bangladesh, who are going to face Australia, if I'm not wrong. So that is also going to happen in Pune, a featherweight, a road where Australia will be very keen to flex their muscle going into the knockouts. So that is tough there. And so maybe just by that logic, you will say that maybe Sri Lanka can do better, but I won't put it past both sides to lose, and I don't know if it could eventually come down to the hitting that we saw very late, because you see it is getting those runs very quickly. I was pleasantly not pleasantly, I was very shocked to see the kind of shots being played by Ridoy, by Mathews and Miraz as well in terms of the urgency. But now you can see it reflect in the points table that the difference is very very in decimal points, and if it eventually comes down to that, both teams might also want to be very careful in terms of how they end up losing. So let's see how that pans out, because you need to finish in top 8. England is something that they have to take care of, but abhi dekho, I don't know how England will turn up.
Gurkiral, what do you feel? Do you think Netherlands might have a surprise, say, against England, and maybe try to creep the win? Because in all honesty, it'll be one of these two teams to go out and one to, of course, play in Pakistan.
I think, like I said early on, we could have a possibility where four teams end up with 4 points. And if that happens, obviously it's going to come down on the net run rate. The wha- the reason why I don't like the result today is because now Netherlands are in danger of finishing last, because if England rarely get that one day where they are able to bat the way they want, and they're playing Netherlands in Pune, so if they bat first and one of those players get in, they could rarely score around 350, and then Netherlands could really fold up for few runs, and they could then go behind England in terms of net run rate, because net run rate is minus 1.398, which is almost like minus 1.4, and England's is minus 1.5. So if England win big, they could get ahead of Netherlands. So, and yeah, so I just think it is possible Netherlands could now finish last, because they'll also be playing India. So, yeah, that's why I'm slightly disappointed that maybe if Sri Lanka would have won, then they would have been assured of that Champions Trophy spot, and Bangladesh would have not been. Now, what has happened is that I think at all costs, Afghanistan qualify for the Champions Trophy, even if they lose their last two games. So that is done. But yeah, at this point of time, you would still say England is best placed to qualify or finish in the top 8 as opposed to other teams, because Sri Lanka might get benefited if the game gets rained out. Who knows?
But do you think
Yeah,
England will also beat Pakistan? Because you never know. Pakistan, ek kudrat ka
Yeah, but
nizam hai
they
छोटा
have
सा.
a game versus Netherlands. So if
Netherlands,
they beat
yeah.
them well, they could still.
But
You
that's
would expect.
assuming that England will beat Netherlands, right? You never
No,
know, man.
no, I'm not assuming. I'm saying they still have a chance. I mean,
yeah,
because the venue is Pune, you feel if they bat first and if they get in, they could see someday one of Livingston Root or Butler will do something with the bat, right? And they it's not happened so far. Someday it's going to happen. It could even happen against Pakistan, but you would still say on paper the quality and the number of games that are remaining and the opponents England still have a chance. Against Pakistan, if they win versus Netherlands, I still feel even if they are behind in the game, they'll have the sense to sort of lose by a margin that keeps them in the top 8, which could also mean that then Pakistan goes out of the top 4 if New Zealand have won that game versus Sri Lanka. So yeah, a lot of calculators would be out, and no one better than you, Avnish, to talk
Ah,
about
and yeah, just
calculators.
it's automatically calculator or take a ticket in RCB fan. It's just automatic in every fan right now. By the way, we'll take some comments before we just wrap up proceedings. Good to see all you guys. Of course, I think we have a new man in the community. Jabir, if you're new, please subscribe. Subscribe, kar lo bhai. And he asks you a very normal question: Who is your favorite cricketer, Paji?
Avnish Hegde.
Oh, that's a great name. He's yet to make the Indian team yet, but I think he's in the auction this time around.
See,
Avnish
I
Hegde,
think I
remember
think
him.
it was someone asked me this yesterday on Twitter, and I said that my favorites have kept changing, to be honest. If
When you
never
first
had
started watching cricket, who was it? Sachin?
Mm.
At that point of time, I think everyone's favorite was Sachin. It was
No,
2003.
Dravid for sure,
Okay,
hands down.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
Sachin fans, but I'm a
yes,
Bangalore
no,
boy.
no,
You can't
I
blame me.
don't think you need to be sorry for that. But see, if
And
to
Sehwag for sure.
so that's what I'm saying. I started watching in 2003, and Sachin had a bumper 2003 World Cup. So first impression was obviously that this man's really different from everyone else. And then when you started watching a lot more, you had appreciation for. I remember at one point of time, Lakshman was my favorite because of what he used to do with the tail, and finishing that game in Mohali 2010, that chase in Sri Lanka, that 96 in Durban. So you saw that whenever India were winning outside Asia, Lakshman was coming up with great contributions. So it has kept changing. I mean, I've
And
never had
international
a
cricketer?
fix. International cricketer, I've been always been in awe of Dale Steyn and De Villiers. I know Anderson has had far more wickets, but I feel Dale Steyn at his peak was just something else. I
Did you
mean,
ever watch like Lara, Jayasuriya, Ponting in their peak?
Ponting, yes. Ponting, yes. 2003 to 2011. So Ponting, yes, I've watched. Lara retired in 2007, so I watched a bit of him, but I don't think it was Lara at his peak. Jasuria again, I don't think played beyond 2007. But yes, there were times I watched Jasuria smash that 100 in the first IPL, and I was like, if this guy at the last legs of his career could do this, the fear is real. So
Mm.
yeah.
Nick, what about you? Any favorite cricketers that you've had over the years?
Yeah, I think the Indian names are already there. Very obvious ones is in them. The first player who I'll actually say I really got to are two in Fleming and Kevin Peterson. And I don't know why. With Fleming, I don't know why. It just felt a very good vibe, and maybe that also explains the why Chennai felt like, "Arey, ye to, it has a lot of people that I liked from the very beginning." So Fleming for that, and Kevin Peterson just for the way he arrived and where I was in my personal life in terms of how I wanted to be, but I couldn't. But I saw KP and then him doing stuff in his first Ashes series against Glenn Megara, against Shane Warne, felt like, wow, you'd want to bat like that. And yeah, so those were two very first names to
Yeah,
really.
I want to bring a special mention for in terms of the liking that I had for one of the overseas cricketers, and that was Paul Collingwood. So
Yeah.
I think it was 2010. I for I got the chance to watch a practice session of Delhi Daredevils, and there was a fielding session happening. Paul Collingwood and every player was taking aim at one stump, not even one set of stump. Paul Collingwood from all angles was get hitting the base of stumps. He would collect the ball, and he would collect the ball at different angles. Sometimes he would try and collect it at covers, would
He's
nail
probably
it.
taken the best catch at backward point,
Possible.
that one at Hayden,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Creamer.
so I was like, this guy's crazy. So that was some special skill. So, and at that point of time, fielding was still developing. The importance of fielding was still developing, and I was like,
How
this man's
much
crazy.
you'd how much you'd hope for a Collingwood in the current Delhi Capitals lineup, man? He would just be brilliant. Instead of Rahman Powell or someone, Collingwood all day long.
Collingwood
All
was actually good for Delhi in that
very good.
2010 season.
Yeah.
Very, very
So,
good. But
and
yeah, good question, Jabir.
Mm.
We'll just speed it on because look, we kind of do things differently. We want to take everyone's comments right now. Really quickly, then Greenwich Gonzalez saying, I think 320 was passed. Go, but he
Yeah.
also asked us, guys, who do you want to be in the semi-final versus India? Really quickly, I want Pakistan only because that's the easiest opposition, man. If we have New Zealand again, I'm going to be worried. Waking up that morning thinking of 5 for 3. If we have Afghanistan, you never know. They also have their own Kudrat ka Nizam. So I would want Pakistan, just from a personal perspective. Next, who would you want to face?
जो भी आता है.
जो भी
Play
आता
whoever comes
है.
your way. It's not in your hand. There is nothing that you can do thinking about it.
and
Let
you
whoever
spoke of,
come.
Okay,
you spoke
Gurkirat,
of,
who would India least like to face in the semi-finals? Let me put it that way.
there isn't a possibility of Australia finishing fourth. So, but yeah, if Australia finish fourth, I think that is something that India would not like. But otherwise, you I don't think you want to be in a position where you start thinking about, oh, this is the team that I want to avoid, etc., etc. Because eventually you could end up facing that team in the final also. So you have to be confident of whoever comes, and every team will have
Their own
one
challenge.
area where they could hit you, because we discussed this yesterday. If India do play Pakistan in semis, then they will have to be careful about the reverse swing that has been happening at Eden, and Mohammad Wasim's been, using it very well. So even
अरे
Hassan
देख
Ali.
लेंगे भाई,
So,
सबको देख लेंगे.
अरे दैट इज डिफरेंट. सो दैट इज व्हाट सेइंग, if you are confident कि सबको देख लेंगे तो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ना चाहिए. एंड
Exactly.
if you play New Zealand, then you will have to be content with, you know just seeing off that first 3 overs of Bolt, especially if New Zealand are bowling second. If they are bowling first, then the ball hasn't really swung enough at Wankhede. So different possibilities. And when if you play New Zealand, just be prepared of how you want to tackle Ravindra and Mitchell in the middle overs, because last time when you played them, they came after your spinners. So come better prepared for them. So it's not going to matter much who you play.
Okay, but we'll of course be giving you all the answers in terms of who those final four will be. Obviously, with regards to tomorrow's game, it plays a huge, huge role in shaping up the top four. Australia, Afghanistan. We'll be doing the preview for that at 1:25 tomorrow afternoon. Join us then. And Saurabh Singh with Fakar in that form, Avnish, I don't know. I generally feel like India will have a wood over anyone who they take on in that semi-final. But dare I jinx it? Thank you, Nikhil and Kukirat, for your presence on this review on cricket.com, where Bangladesh, they will be doing the snake dance right now in the pavilion of the Firosha Kotla. I'm guessing the fans will be happy. And remember the game, remember the name, Angelo Mathews. For all that you, of course, want to find out more, cricket.com is the place to be. We'll see you soon. And tomorrow, yet another game. Join us in the afternoon, like I said. Until then, it's a goodbye from us.